Hello, friends. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I wanted to come to you today to talk about a pretty serious topic that not enough people take seriously, and that is gun violence. I have mentioned before that I have had a very spirited walk through this valley of the shadow of death. Often when I post on my Tumblr, I use the quote or the caption, "I've been on watch the whole time." And I have a story of gun violence that is another example of that energy. I happened to go to school with one of the first mass shooters that really made my radar and really made the news back in the 90s. I went to a Christian school in Las Vegas, Nevada, with a young man named Zane Floyd. And he was in the 11th grade when I was in the 7th grade, I think. So we went to school for a couple of years together, and there were only about 300 people in the school. So even though he was well ahead of me and we were not friends by any means, we were all friendly and knew each other and would, at least say hi to each other in the hall. And this kid definitely fit the description of someone who would snap and shoot up someplace because he was very quiet, kept to himself, friendly, well-mannered, and the last person that you would expect to even do anything like that, which is usually the guy that does it. Shortly, I believe after he graduated, he went into a grocery store and shot 4 or 5 people with a gun that was from his family home. Very typical mass shooter behavior. I don't believe he was he was one of the earlier people who fell victim to this sort of MK Ultra triggering. So he didn't have one of those large manifestos or anything like the other guys. But he definitely snapped. And the interesting thing is, a couple of months before I graduated, I wrote a short story about a kid who came to school and shot up everybody in the class because they were making fun of him. And that concept was foreign to me at the time. This was before Columbine. And so I wrote the story and I thought it was brilliant. I showed it to one of my friends. He thought it was amazing. And at the last minute, I chose not to turn it in. I thought to myself, this is just definitely not the place to put this out in this Christian school. The teachers are going to think I'm weird. I might get in trouble. It freaked me out. And so while we were waiting for class to start, before the teacher picked up the assignment, I wrote a whole different short story. I wrote this short story and turned it in. And I thought about that incident for a while until the boy went into this grocery store and shot up all the people. And I thought that the energy definitely matched. And it was just a fascinating thing because if you've read the first chapter of my book, you would know that that type of energy, I have been around it since the very beginning. I've been able to pick it up and hopefully transmute it. And I do believe that there was some measure of grace that made this young man not shoot up the school and shoot up this grocery store instead. Unfortunately for the people who were in the grocery store, they weren't privy to that grace. But it is just a fascinating thing how that sort of behavior works, because just having experienced it firsthand, the young man definitely fit the description of all of the other people that I've seen so far that have done that. And these people are definitely being triggered by something that they are consuming. That is without question, without equivocation. And it is something that needs to be addressed. I know that when something like this happens, people like to argue talking points on the news and sometimes at the grocery store or whatever it is, but there is a deeper issue at hand that is not being addressed, and that is the MK Ultra brainwashing that is put into all of the programming by the media and the government in this country. And not just in this country. Because as you know, Russia and China collude with the United States to MK Ultra the citizens of all of those countries. And so it is definitely something that needs to stop. And this is just another example of how I have been on watch the whole time, whether I want to be or not. I have been placed in these situations. I was in New York City months after 9/11. I moved to the city. Nobody in my family even questioned it. That's just the kind of person that I am, the kind of life that I've lived. On the back of my book, I say that I have had a spirited walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And my friends, it has been a spirited walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I'm still walking.